New World Nerds. Get it. Live. Epic. And take one swig before we start.
We are live.
Oh, we're doing it. Yeah, baby boy, live action. How late are we today? 4 minutes isn't that late. All right, I think we did pretty good.
Tis not.
Howdy there, true believers. Welcome back to New World Nerds. Welcome back to New World Wrestling. And still, the New World Wrestling Champion. Yeah, so we all drawed. We all tied.
We took a tie.
That means ya boy keeps his championship. Thank you. Thank you to all my fans out there. I couldn't have done it without you. Wait, yes, I could, because call me Nostradamus. A lot of my picks were right. Yeah, drink it in.
Let it be known on my first attempt, I tied with the champ, so I did not lose.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, I guess Andy's the only one that's ever lost. Haha, got him. Oh, that's so bad. Remember when you lost to me last time, Andy? He's not here. He has family matters to attend to, so he's here in spirit and possibly in the chat. I haven't checked yet. I'm trying to open up this bad boy.
Can't see the chat, but Andy, if you ever see this, just know, no hard feelings. But I did tie with the champ on the first try.
Oh, it sounds like there's hard feelings. No, I'm just kidding. All right, I don't know what happened when I pressed. All right, so let's kick this bad boy off. Yes, we're all very excited that I'm still the champ. Jackie and Andy picked valiantly. I don't know what we're gonna do for a punishment. Put a punishment down in the chat because we all have to do it because we tied. All right, but to kick off the show, we got the first ever, the inaugural Women's Tag Team Championship Elimination Chamber match. I thought this match was pretty dope, through and through. I really had a good time with it. How about you?
I'll be very honest. I liked it more than I thought, and that's not to take a knock on the women because For those of you who don't know, I'm a real big women's wrestling fan. I love wrestling, but I've been all about the evolution for women's wrestling. So to actually enjoy this match, part of me was I don't know, some of these pairings are kind of last minute, aka Naomi and Carmella.
Yeah, for sure.
And the whole Tamina and Nia Jax thing, it was kind of was that really fair? Because they're basically two giants compared to anyone else.
Yeah.
But no, they had perfect spots. They didn't take up as short amount of time as I thought. They actually gave them a decent amount of time to wrestle, which I thought was great. And what I thought was interesting was it was the two teams that started it that were the final two teams. And I will be perfectly honest, Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, not a lot of people have liked them. I've always been interested in how they've been developed. They held their own very well last night. I was pleasantly surprised by that. And the fact that they were the ones that had so many near falls with Sasha and Bayley, there were so many good spots. I genuinely thought it could go either way between the two.
Yeah.
So that just goes to show how hard they worked to, sell that match. And so I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I enjoyed it more than I thought. So.
Like you were saying, I think there's a ton of good spots in there. I think each member, each team got a moment to shine for sure. Even a team that doesn't get a lot of TV time, or that doesn't, I don't think gets their due because they lose all the time, is the Iconics, who you picked. I thought they had some great spots in there. They got the first elimination ever in a women's tag team elimination chamber match. You can't take that away from them. I thought they did great heel work. I feel like they're the smartest team because on Tuesday night they weren't tagging in because they're like, why are we going to tag in? We have a chance to be the first team in the elimination chamber. That's dumb. And this one they're like, Nia and Tamina are out. We're going to go back in our pod. We'll see you later. I love them. I thought they did great work. I loved their double their double pin. It was pretty friggin' dope.
Yeah, that was so great.
For sure. I like okay, good. I kept on refreshing it to try and get the chat too. What's up, everybody? This makes me the babyface. That's fine. You can be the babyface. I'll be the heel all day. Heels have the best lines.
Just make sure you carry the heel role better than Ronda Rousey. You don't have somebody else come in and replace.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, I just think that not to jump ahead, but I think that Ronda just has a lot of fans too, so it's hard to get a lot of heat behind her, I think. But Charlotte Flair, she's just so good at it. Like, get that true heel in there.
Heel.
Yeah, for sure. I don't want to knock Ronda Rousey. I think she's great in between the ropes. And I think maybe you're right. Maybe she couldn't hack it as a true heel. But I'm glad Charlotte's in there. We'll talk about that later. But I genuinely was jumping out of my seat when Fire and Desire. I'm not going to call them that. I hate that name. It's kind of terrible.
I know. I think Kristen, my sister, who sometimes comes on the channel, she was just like, what is it with these team names? They're just so bleh.
Yeah, for sure.
And at first I didn't think about it, like Fire and Desire, oh, it's not that bad. But then I'm like, dang, you have the Iconics. You have Boss and Hug Connection. And you stick them with Fire and Desire.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about Boss and Hug Connection either. Like, it just reminds me of Rock and Sock. Like, get your own thing. Like Gabby was saying, it's like, call them Boss Hugs. Or like, their hugs are so good, they're freaking boss. Like, I don't know, like something else.
Sure.
I like it. I mean, I like them both, and I'm glad they won.
We're not the writers. We don't get privilege to write the names.
But I think making predictions, holding this championship title definitely made me a little more anxious during the end of that match. I was like, Sasha, I know your shoulder, do not tap. Whatever you do, don't tap. Hold on. Just a little longer. So it definitely got me super into the match, and I thought it was beautiful. I thought it was a great feel-good moment, because I was like, Daniel Bryan's going to retain. We all knew he was going to retain. So, even though maybe a little bit in that match they made me think that it might go another way, but I think that they needed this feel-good match. I think you can't have heels win both of them. I think that Sonya and Mandy needed it more, definitely. Like Andy was saying, he felt like they needed to chase until WrestleMania. Like, I don't want I feel like we kind of take this as filler, and Bayley and Sasha winning means that it wasn't filler. Like, this meant something,
Oh yeah, for sure. No, and I think it's also like what you talked about, like being like the fillers, like how they kind of just stick people in so that way certain people can win. But I think one thing that was like so beneficial from this match is that like Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, they came up with Paige as part of Absolution. And Paige, unfortunately, was injured in a live event, so they couldn't continue the group, so it was just kind of them back and forth. And then they tried to stick them with, like, storylines where, like, one eliminated the other from the Royal Rumble match, like that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And it was like they were trying to tease it like another Sasha Bayley thing, but it didn't have enough development. And so one thing that I liked is that, like, them starting the match and then finishing it and having all of those great spots, it like solidified as to like why they're meant to be on the main roster. I mean, they're there for a reason. And so I think like if anything, not having the championships, at least being that close, like for them to like close out the match with them, like that was a big enough spot and a big enough push in and of itself for them, even if they didn't win the titles, because now I think there's more legitimacy, like they're more solidified as a team together. So if you look at it, it's kind of like there's so many like great teams that like come up short, or they lose but then they bounce back, and so this is going to be like a really big stepping stone from them moving forward. And so I definitely think they'll be taken more seriously now. Like me personally, I didn't take them. I mean, I like them, but I didn't take them as serious as a tag team. And like after yesterday, I was kind of like, oh yeah, like this is why we have them come up for a reason. Like this is why they were meant to be on the main roster. This is why they're being showcased. And so it was definitely a really good, like, almost like a confirming moment of, like, solidifying, like, their true place on the main roster. So.
Yeah, I definitely, totally agree. And I think that I hope they did get some sort of rub for being like one of the final two lasting, from being like the first people all the way to the end. I don't think there was any particular team that did bad. I thought they all did great. They all performed good in their spots. First two that started off. I thought that Naomi and Carmella, despite being like the throw together team, I thought that they still, like when they came in, they brought a certain electricity to the match. Like they gave it some much needed juice, because everyone was just sprawled out, right? Yeah.
I think it was so funny because like they even went as far as like to like one, coordinate their gear, which is like one thing. Like, oh, just because you have matching gear doesn't mean you're good. But then like they did the whole entrance together, and then on top of that, like they had sequence spots together where they did the Bronco Busters. Like that's a signature Carmella move. But yeah, Naomi went and joined in on the Bronco Busters, and then Carmella was super kicking girls while Naomi was doing her traditional like split leg moonsault, you know, that kind of stuff. And so the way they wove that and pieced that together, it was so good that it was like you almost forgot that they were a thrown tag team like at the last second, you know.
For sure. I think Naomi, her butt is dangerous. She hits people with that, and it's devastating. Definitely shades of her father-in-law, Rikishi. That was a little bit of that. So, but we glossed over because kind of WWE does the same thing, but they put in another cruiserweight classic. You know, the pre-show was great. Buddy Murphy retains, as we all thought. I don't know if you noticed, but that the WWE took inspiration from our belt to make the cruiserweight title, and you know, I was kind of offended. You know, they didn't ask me for any kind of royalties or anything. Look, it looks almost exactly like theirs, and they just put cruiserweight at the top.
What can you do?
And I'm offended. All right, I'm gonna talk to them. I'll shoot them a Twitter. I'll slide into their Twitter DMs, and we're gonna hash this thing out.
Exactly. You're gonna write a strongly worded tweet and ask them to DM you. Where's the royalties at? You know.
Yeah, because, you know, WWE are always super good at making good on things. Yes, Mom, I still have the belt. All right, we tied, so I retained. That's how it works. Champ's advantage. Sorry.
It's all right, Stacy. It's okay. At least on my first try, I tied with Nico.
Yeah, so Andy can't say that, but it's whatever. Just playing seats for Fastlane and WrestleMania. Maybe you guys will have a chance then. Who knows? So I think we can both agree. Elimination Chamber for the women's tag team was pretty dope. I really liked it. Andy,
if you had to like grade it, what would you grade it? Like A through F.
What is it? A through F? Definitely.
Yeah, like you could plus and minuses to like B minus, B plus, like that kind of stuff.
I would want to say a B plus. I don't want to give it an A yet because an A I'm thinking is like a classic, like crazy good. I thought it was definitely good. Maybe what would give it like the edge for an A minus is that it was the first one. But I thought they did great. Maybe there was a few things they could have fixed just because, you know, I don't think it was like perfect, but it definitely was really enjoyable.
Yeah, I agree. I'd probably give it like a B plus, borderline A minus. It's like in that threshold of like, oh, that's probably where I'd put it at. Especially because, like you said, it was the first one. I think if there was like maybe a couple more like wow moments, which there were a ton of, but I think if there was more of those, then it would definitely like warrant it for like an A. Like an A is like Trish Stratus Lita Monday Night Raw when she takes off the, you know, the iconic face mask that she had protecting her broken nose or whatever. And that's when Lita did the dive and, like, you know, like did it wrong, messed up her neck, but she still won it. That one was a good match. So that's like what we're talking about, like A level for the women. Also, Bayley versus Sasha at TakeOver, I think was TakeOver Brooklyn, the very first one, so I don't know if that's 14 or 15. I think it was 2014. That would be a great A match too.
Yeah, definitely.
Just like for an example of like the standards for the women, like what we're looking for, like that's what it would be. Also, the Women's Royal Rumble, even though there was a couple of botches, I would give it an A minus. I really enjoyed
the Women's Royal Rumble. Andy said he'd give it a solid B, and Gum told me to stop wearing shades inside, but you're not my dad. I can do whatever I want. The champ wears shades inside, all right? Because my future's too damn bright out here. All right, that one was a cheesy one, and you had to give it to me. Okay, so what did we have next on the card? I'm trying to think. Do we have the SmackDown Tag Team Championship?
Yes, that was the next match. It was Shane and Miz. What were they called?
McMiz versus the Usos.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was. I'll just say. I had the Usos until I found out that Jimmy was experiencing some legal difficulties, and I was like, there's no way they're going to put the belts on him now, because I thought they lose here, and then, maybe they try, or Shane and Miz lose here, they go to Fastlane, try and regain the titles again, that's when the heel turn happens, by either one at this point. I hope it's Shane, because I like babyface Miz, but the way he was acting after the match, it was probably going to be The Miz. And then they fight at WrestleMania. Shane gets on the card, and while the Cruiserweights are on the pre-show, of course. Good job, Shane. But I thought this was it was an okay match. It was. I don't think it was as good as the one versus the Bar, but I'm so glad the Usos won. I thought there's some really cool spots, and they just kind of. I think the Miz has a great finisher, the skull crushing finale. But then Jimmy just kind of took it and then reversed it, kind of destroyed his finisher. Yeah. Whatever, but what do you think about this match?
I thought it was good. It could have been better. Like you said, the one with the Bar was probably better. I personally like anything that Cesaro's in, because to me he's like an underrated talent.
For sure,
so
100%.
That's why I agree with you on that sentiment that the Bar match with them was probably better. But I mean, for what they were having to work with, like, they did pretty well, and the Usos always fare very well. I think it kind of depends who they're working with, because I mean, the Usos I think definitely have had better matches, that's for sure. But this one, it wasn't, not that it was like a bad match, it's not like one of their greatest, but they did have some good spots. Like, I think it was Jimmy who was on the table when Shane jumped from the ring, and it was the top rope. He springboarded, and they, broke the announce table, typical. And then Shane had the coast-to-coast situation when that happened. But yeah, no, Miz definitely knows how to work his way with whoever his partner is, which is good. And I'm not like knocking Shane at all. I just think like he knows what to do in order to make it sell. I think it was just unfortunate that it was booked that the Usos were to win, because then they couldn't really power through like he usually does with his partners. So, and honestly, after they lost, when they were walking back, Miz was holding his head, like the back of his head, like with his hand, looking like to me, I perceive that as, he's gonna push him into the barrier. But of course that didn't happen, and it wasn't until like the match was over that I saw I think somebody else tweeted about it, but I realized Andy had mentioned it too, that he was like, they're gonna set it up for the inevitable Shane versus Miz at WrestleMania, because of course Shane always has to fight someone, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that, and I was waiting for the moment, and then they just cut to commercial, and I was like, yeah.
Yeah, I felt that too. I don't remember what else I was gonna say. Oh, we did have some comments. Andy said that the Usos are the best tag team. Yeah, agreed. I really like them. I really want them to have their WrestleMania moment, to win the titles there. But someone who needs to be on TV, a team that needs to be on TV, is Sanity. I love them so much. I loved them on NXT.
Oh, I know. They haven't done anything with them, and it kind of sucks, because it's like you have all these call-ups, and then you don't capitalize on them, and we both know it's not Triple H. Well, I should say all of us know it's not Triple H that's in charge. It's Vince that's in charge. Because, I mean, the product that NXT turns out is so much, I think, better, and I think everyone can agree, than what main roster turns out, with the exception of a few things, like the women. So, for them to, like, not, be where they should be, it sucks. Like, they were champions. They had, a faction going and everything, and now they're just kind of stuck in mid-card, which sucks.
Yeah, definitely. And I thought that maybe something would happen with Nikki Cross coming up, but no, nothing yet. I guess we'll just have to wait till after Mania, hopefully that, or I guess there's still some time, but I really don't know what they want to do. Gump said,
I really thought they were going to try and pursue factions with them, like, because now that the Shield is basically going to be gone, since pretty much Dean Ambrose has already been confirmed that he's not renewing his contract, it would be a Shield. And that's, I don't know if I mentioned it in a previous video, or if I was just talking in conversation with you, or we were talking about how it'd be so cool if they took Finn to SmackDown, which we don't know if that's going to happen now. If they took him to SmackDown, that way they could have him, AJ, and then Anderson and Gallus together, and get the OG club back together, and then put a faction on Raw, and then just have them go back and forth, kind of like a Nexus storyline, but to the next level because these guys are better wrestlers. So, you know, like, and then Sanity could be prime for that, and it could turn into like a whole other thing. Like, that would be my jam, just to have factions,
yes,
for one another, repping the brands, like, okay. So, total side note. The very first time they did the Survivor Series with the brand split, which I think was like back in 2016, that's when Nikki Bella was on SmackDown, and she was supposed to captain the Survivor Series team, and then they had that stupid storyline where it was Natty who went and took her out, replace or whatever. But literally, like, the SmackDown before Survivor Series, that was when Raw invaded, and they, like, Nikki goes to take Charlotte out of the crowd, and everyone's going crazy. Nia Jax goes through the barricade. Like, everyone was so hyped for them. Like, that's the hype that you need for factions. Like, that stuff like that gets me excited all the time. Like, especially the brand split stuff. And so it's like, if you could just capitalize on stuff like that and put it into factions, even if it's with the women, like, it'd be so awesome.
Yeah.
But leave this to me, so.
No, it's good. It's good. That's exactly what this thing is here for. This is the whole reason we have the channel, so we can nerd out about things, and other people can nerd out with us. So I would totally agree. I love me some factions, and DX is going into the hall. Maybe we'll get some sort of thing. Not with the DX. I don't think they should come back or anything like that.
Right.
But I think that we should have some factions in the same vein. Let's get some teams going. Like, I think it's too soon, but to see the Undisputed Era come up would be really cool.
Oh, I was about to say, like, Undisputed Era, like, their success and how they have, like, multiple guys, like, holding the championships. It's like, that's what I would like to see on main roster. Like, that's what you would desire to have, but of course, it's Vince. He's not gonna listen. So.
Yeah, we got a little bit with the Shield, and then they're like, "Oh, well, Dean doesn't have a title." Shut up! You guys are doing good. You guys are friends. It's not how friendship works. If you aren't happy for your brother's success, you're not a good brother. That's how that works. Like, if you can't be happy for them, I understand you want to be successful too. That's fine. But if you can't be happy for someone else's success that you're supposed to be friends with, you're wrong. All right, sorry, I didn't mean that was another tangent. What were we talking about? So that one was fine, the tag team match, whatever. Gump said, people in tights fighting, that sounds dumb. Watch his superhero movie. Gump, I'm telling you, wrestling is comics. That's what it is. It's long-term storytelling when it's good. All right, and when it's great. When it's good, then you get a solid match. All right, trust me, a solid Raw is just as good, if not better, than a good issue of a comic book. Boom, there it is. My mom says Mr. McMahon's a racist for the Elimination Chamber match that happened at the end. Anyways, let's go. What happened after the tag team match? What do we got? Intercontinental?
The tag team match, wasn't it Ronda and Ruby?
Oh, Ronda and Ruby. That's my favorite Nickelodeon's TV cartoon.
Let it be known that we all said that this would be a throwaway match. And
yeah,
of course it was.
And not only was it a throwaway match, it was a squash, dude. She jobbed out.
Literally, they probably wrestled max 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Max. That's being generous.
Yeah, I don't. We're not gonna talk about. That was it. It was a squash match.
Yeah.
Ruby deserved better. Plain and simple.
I mean, it sucks that she had to be used for a spot with Becky and Charlotte, which I love the spot. It was great. But I mean, if you saw the runtime, the pay-per-view ended at what, like, so it started 6 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Yeah, ended around like 9:15.
Ended about like 9-ish, maybe 9:15 or so Central Standard Time. So it was like, it didn't go on till like 10:30 like it usually does, which, I mean, it's good because it's not dragging, but they definitely had plenty of time to work something out. I mean, the Riot Squad could have tried, and then it could have been a DQ, and they could have just done a rematch on Raw or whatever. But I mean, of course they wanted the spot. But I don't know, to me, I'm just like, if you want that spot, like, don't compromise the wrestling, like, don't belittle the people that you're putting in the match, because it's one of those where it's like, oh, it's just a waste of time. And what does that tell, like, the people who are watching, like, especially, like, I'm using this as an example, like, little girls who are told, like, oh, the evolution, women are supposed to be important, blah, 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 whatever, and then you do that, like, how is that beneficial? How is that helping the evolution? Like, that's just my 2 cents on that part.
Yeah,
so.
I feel that. I feel like a lot of the times they're like, oh, no, but we had those other women win. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yes, it's like, the only analogy that comes to mind is like when, like, because your mom said the racist thing, so it was like when somebody's like, oh,
I have one black friend.
Yeah,
that's the same thing.
Mexican friend, X amount of
I have a Mexican friend.
Basis, like, they're literally pulling that. They're like, no, we're for women inequality. Didn't you just see the chamber match where Sasha and Bailey won? It's like, okay, but how does that justify what you did with this match? Like, it doesn't make sense. You can't pull that.
So Andy said that the match went 1:40. # Ruby deserves better. And you said Ricochet is a real life superhero. Yes, we can all agree. I think he's he should be adult Miles Morales. Like, he's perfect. Like, and he doesn't need any special effects. No strings attached, baby boy. Yeah, stunt double. You don't need one. He lands on his feet every time. He's like a cat.
He is the stunt double. He is the double threat.
But let's get to the nitty gritty. The real reason this match was even a thing. We got Becky Lynch coming out of the crowd. I don't think she knows how to use crutches. That's not how you use crutches. And then she looks so weird coming under the ropes. Whatever. It's fine.
Helped her. Like,
what did Charlotte think was going to happen? What do you think was going to happen, Charlotte? This was coming right for you. That crutch had your name on it. But I thought it was great. I loved it. And then Ronda was kind of dumb. It's like, oh, actually, I just saw you hit her with that. But thank you for giving me one. I'm going to get her, too. Because she hit me with a kendo stick a few times. And then, just like, idiot, you never give your back to your opponent. You are an MMA. You should know that.
Literally what she should have done is waited for Becky to do the first strike, the quote-unquote joint strike, to join in, because then that would have been helpful. But, of course, it's one of those where they're trying to play her off as like, okay, we both agree that we're supposed to be fighting, so we're kind of technically a team right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was. I think it was a little too soon to bring her back, but whatever. They did the house show thing. I thought you could have done that like on a Raw, maybe you could have done it at Fastlane. I'm big about slow builds. Long term.
Letting it be organic.
Yeah, so you build up that, we want Becky so bad, and then boom, there she is. But they did. I thought they blew their load a little too soon. But I thought it was a great segment. I tweeted it out. I thought it had such a big fight feel. Like, this feels like the main event. Like, this needs to be the main event. Like, this is the thing I'm most invested in.
It was so funny because I think earlier, whenever Raw was coming on, I saw a little bit of it, by the way. Don't judge me. They were talking about how they were like, oh yeah, the main event or whatever, and Justin was like, was that supposed to be the main event? I was like, well, they haven't announced it, but the whole time they've been prefacing it as being main event worthy.
Yeah,
like that's how they're doing it, like, so that way it can stick with you, that kind of stuff. And so, like, I think it was Michael Cole who said, like, oh, WrestleMania, like, main event or whatever, and I was like, yes, I want that to be that, but don't say it like that, because then people are going to be like, no, because Becky's not in it, blah, 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 and they're just going to mess it up. Like, let it be organic.
And it's always, but they say, like, oh, win the Royal Rumble and you'll main event WrestleMania. Royal Rumble, the winner rarely ever actually main events WrestleMania. So,
yeah, I know.
So they don't know. They're like, he will be on the card. That's for sure, guaranteed.
He should be going to WrestleMania, not main eventing WrestleMania.
He'll be fighting for a title.
Right now, it's a toss-up between Seth and Brock, which I don't mind. I would like to see them fight personally, but I think a lot of people are tired of Brock being in the main event whenever he doesn't do crap.
You don't see.
Yeah, so I think it's one of those things where it's like, do you go with the original plan, or do you actually listen to the people? So I'm going to give another example. Daniel Bryan, WrestleMania 30 in New Orleans. He talked about how it was a couple months before Vince had straight up told him he was going to do a match with Sheamus again, because they had already had 2 matches or whatever. First time was when he kissed AJ Lee and he lost the World Heavyweight Championship in like 18 seconds. And then
see that, like, apparently that made a bunch of people upset. I totally understand now, but when that happened, I was like, good, he's the bad guy. Like, I was like, I want Sheamus to win. But, like, I just said, they're like, the American Dragon just lost in seconds. Vince McMahon doesn't know anything. But I was just a mark, like, I didn't know anything either.
Yeah, and so, like, I think it was probably after Royal Rumble when people were like, no, we want Daniel Bryan to main event Mania, like, we want him there, blah, 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 or whatever. And then it all started organically happening that way. And that's when they had the Raw Takeover. The Raw Takeover was, like, my favorite. When they bring out the people from the crowd, like, they had special wristbands that they knew who to pick out. And they all have the Yes Movement t-shirts. And they're going, it's Daniel Bryan trying to defy Triple H, who is part of the Authorities. Like, we're occupying Raw. And Triple H is like, okay, you know what? You have it. You're going to fight me at WrestleMania, and if you win, you'll be in the main event, blah, 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 which we already knew was going to happen. He had an awesome match with Triple H. Like, that was actually a really well-worked match. And then he goes back against Randy Orton and Batista, and then he goes and makes Batista tap out, which it kind of sucks. I think I would have rather had him make Randy Orton tap out than Batista, because Batista had just come back. But then, he won the World Heavyweight Championship, or I'm sorry, WWE World Heavyweight Championship at the time, which is not WWE Championship. So silly, but anyway, he won it, and he ended up main event. He ended up being the end of the show, like he was the main event. And that was because quote unquote the WWE universe, which is just like all the fans, like everyone, were the ones that were championing him to do it. And so it's like whenever you have stuff like organically happen like that, like it's so awesome, because it's instead of doing what you quote unquote think is best for business, you're listening to everyone who actually pays for the subscriptions. $9.99. Like they're the ones who put their hard-earned money, into stuff like this. And so to see what they want come to fruition is so great. So like whenever Becky turned home, that's what everyone was wanting, because her thing was that she was always being stepped on and blah, 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 whatever, walked over. And then she loses to Charlotte. It was actually here in San Antonio. She loses to Charlotte. Or was it in San Antonio? I can't remember. Or she beat her in San Antonio, one of those. Either or. Anyway.
You get it.
So, she turns heel, she wins. And then she, people were like, oh my gosh, we love her so much. And then the Survivor Series thing happened, and she's standing there, like the iconic pose, of her, like, shouting out and chanting, and like, yeah, you want some, that kind of stuff, with the blood going down her face. And then, like, it solidified her as, like, the female Stone Cold Steve Austin. And so it's like, you can't hate on her. Like, that stuff happened so organically, and it's, like, so great to see stuff like that happen. So it's like, they need to just follow suit with that for the rest of the roster. Like, come on, like, there's the hints, like, there's a reason why they had to put Charlotte into the whole situation, because they needed a heel, because everyone knew that it didn't matter what Becky was going to be. Like, they were going to like her attitude or no attitude. So it was like, yeah, that happened organically. So let's just let the rest of the stuff happen organically.
Yeah, like they should have made Ronda full heel, like, because it's not that she's not a good baby face or anything. It's they're booing her because she's not Becky. Like, that's all it is. Becky is so over. Anybody she's in a match with is a heel.
For sure.
And so then I think we got the Intercontinental Championship.
Oh, the Intercontinental Championship was, I think, before that one. That's okay. It's okay.
Yes, it's okay.
We're going.
The match was pretty lame, I thought, but the result is what mattered. Finn has some singles gold. I haven't watched Raw, But if he holds it through the night, that means it's the longest he's ever had with individual or with some gold on his shoulder on the main roster. I was very happy. If I was going to get any one of the matches wrong, I'm glad it was this one. He definitely deserves it, and I didn't even think about it until Corey Graves started talking about it. I don't like Corey Graves. I don't care what anybody says. But he was like, oh, Finn Balor can't win the big one. I was like, when was the last time he won on pay-per-view? SummerSlam, when he had to be the demon? When did the man Finn Balor actually win on a pay-per-view?
SummerSlam 16 is when that was, I think. Or no. SummerSlam 17. It was...
No, this past SummerSlam, he beat Baron Corbin.
I went to, not the Raw that was after that, but the following Raw. So it was like... So he got injured in the match, but then he won. And then he had to relinquish it the next day on Raw. The following Raw, which was September 2nd, I think, if I remember correctly, somewhere around there, like, I went to go watch it, and I was like, man, he just relinquished the title last week, and now he's gone. I was looking forward to seeing him. And I remember that was, like, around the same time Sasha had the back injury, so... That's why, like, she lost at SummerSlam to Charlotte. So she was gone from Raw, too. So, like, the only thing we got to, like, see at that actual Raw was, like, on the Titantron when they, like, cut to, like, the backstage interview stuff. And they were interviewing her about her back or whatever. So I was like, man. But what made up for it on that Raw was that Kevin Owens won the title. Because thanks to Triple H. But that's another story for another time.
But it was still pretty sweet.
Anyways. Like how you were saying, like he hasn't had a championship for a long time. I've been championing for him to have a title ever since he came back. Of course, again about the nobody listens to me stuff. He's been deserving of a belt since like 2-3 years ago, whatever. He was the NXT champion. He was in the first NXT championship ladder match. Like he had so many like firsts on NXT. Like he was so great. And then his first, like, official, like, wrestling night on Raw was when they did the gauntlet match. And he's the one who beat Roman Reigns to be the number one contender to face Seth Rollins, who had already been primed and picked to be hit by Stephanie McMahon. And they still had the authority looming over and whatnot, and he was still a heel. Mm-hmm. And so it was one of those where it was like, you knew if you relied on him, you were going to get a good result. You knew that if you chose him, that he was not going to let you down, that kind of stuff. And then, like, he got injured, and I was like, God damn it. And then he came back, and he was just stuck in mid-card forever. And then I had so much hope with the Brock Lesnar thing, even though I had a feeling. I was like, you know what, well, maybe he'll win by DQ. That way he could still win, even though he doesn't get the title. And I was just like, oh, God, he's going to get lost in mid-card again. He was stuck in mid-card for, like, over a year and, like, some odd months. But then when he won, it was great.
For sure.
So great.
Hey, Uncle Mikey's in the chat. He said, hi. Hello, Mikey. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining us. I thought, like I said, match was kind of lame. I didn't think they were going to put it on him before, like, WrestleMania, but they did. Very glad. He definitely deserves it. Bobby Lashley did some heel stuff. They saved Bobby Lashley, so we'll probably get a rematch either on Raw or Fastlane before we get to WrestleMania. I'm trying to think of like a WrestleMania opponent for Finn Balor. I don't know. I think they could do... I'm afraid to say certain people because I think they could definitely beat Finn Balor, like a Braun Strowman or a Drew McIntyre. I'm trying to think of people that I think Vince would let him beat. But
to be honest, though, I'm kind of like, I don't want it to be the same circle of people that they keep talking about. Oh, they were champions in NXT. They needed to be big here. They've had some matches where, you know, it's built them up, but then they've lost, like, momentum. So, like, the whole, like, how you brought up Drew McIntyre, like, he was one of those that he got let go. And so he went to the Indies, wrestled for a little bit, came back to NXT. He was a babyface champion, and then, like, got called up back to the main roster pretty quickly. And then he had that whole deal where it was him and Dolph Ziggler, and then that was pretty great. But then they were supposed to try and set it up for him and Dolph, and they haven't really capitalized on that. I'm not sure why Dolph was on TV. I don't know if he got injured or something. I already forgot. But it's one of those where it's like they already like tried to put him up against Finn before. So like to circle back, like I'd be the type of person that I'm like, I've seen this before. Like, come on, like think of something creative, you know, like not to like say like they have to keep calling up people in NXT, but it's like think outside the box a little, you know, like what if it was someone like Dean versus Finn you haven't really seen that before, like something like that, or if you were to have like Drew McIntyre go against who is it, The Miz, like just like people like that, even though The Miz is on SmackDown, but you know like people like of that like that they haven't really like had matches before, instead of using the same sort of people, like branch out a little bit, like who knows, you could get something different, like coming up on what we're going to talk about with the whole Kofi Kingston situation, like you know, his inserting him into the match and like doing the whole gauntlet match, like the like less than a week before, like in order to qualify, like that kind of stuff, like that was something you wouldn't really think of seeing Kofi versus Daniel Bryan, but look at how well that worked last night, you know, so like you never know what you can get if you just try and mix it up a little bit. That's all I'm trying to say.
For sure. I definitely agree with that. Andy said that he's glad Finn finally got a belt, and then he said Finn Balor versus Ricochet for the IC title at Mania.
My God, that'd be so great.
That would be a clinic. They would put on a damn clinic. Like, it would be amazing.
I will still stand by Finn. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I still would want Finn to win.
What?
No, I don't know, because you got Ricochet coming. I don't know. We'll see. Andy, stop getting me excited about things that might not happen. And no problem, Nikki, by the way.
What we gotta do is we gotta finish watching Raw, then we gotta come back and discuss and brainstorm, and then we gotta talk about what would be the best team ups versus which ones would be the best matches Mania wise, and then we'll go from there.
Yes, we'll be back live on Thursday to talk about Raw and SmackDown. Hopefully with Jackie and Andy, we'll have a three-person pod. There's 3 P's in a podcast. Boom. Great name. You guys are welcome. I don't want to spend too much time on this match. Baron Corbin versus Braun Strowman. It was what we've seen a million times.
Match.
I guess you predicted Braun by having a bunch of people throw him through a couple tables. I just think, like, how far has he fallen? Like, how out of favor has he fallen with Vince? Like, I think that him and Drew, like certain people, they get really red hot and then they both kind of just simmered because of bad storylines and stuff like that, because they don't want to take the belt off Brock unless it's WrestleMania. Even then they don't sometimes, but
annoying.
But I feel like Braun, there was a time where Braun definitely should have gotten the Universal Championship, and I think he suffered because of it. He got that stupid green belt in Saudi Arabia or whatever.
And it's not even like a championship. It's just like a trophy, essentially. But it's like, well, then get an actual trophy.
It definitely hangs above his fireplace, I'm sure, that ugly green belt. I think it was whatever. I figured Drew McIntyre were going to come out. I thought also like Kurt Angle and Dolph Ziggler would come out, but nothing. I guess maybe we'll see what happens on Raw.
Yeah, and like you said, like not to spend like too much time on it, but just to kind of add to the point that you talked about, like about quote unquote possibly falling out of like Vince's favor. Like we had to suffer through 30-second matches where he was putting away no-name people, aka the local competitors or whatever that they don't even introduce. Like, we suffered through so much of that wasted airtime for him to finally be built up to who he was, and then to like stick him with stuff like this, like no, unacceptable.
Yeah. Andy said in the comments, oh my gosh, it's kind of crazy. I heard something like that, but he said before Sunday, Braun and Corbin had only faced once, but it felt like 10,000 times because of all the segments. I did not know that.
True.
That was insane. I guess the TLC match or whatever was the only one. Whatever, we're not talking about this anymore. We're getting to the nitty-gritty. We're talking about the good stuff. We're getting to the Nougaty Center, and that's the Elimination Chamber match for the WWE Championship. I thought this match was great. I thought that maybe the beginning of it wasn't so good, or it was above average, but I think the last two, that mini match in the bigger match, it made me believe. They like to say, oh, Kofi Kingston made everybody a believer on Tuesday. Whatever, like we all knew he wasn't going to win and la la la. But for a second, when he hit that like second SOS,
Oh,
after he kicked out of the knee, after he didn't tap out, after he hit that second SOS, I thought for just 1 second.
Oh, for real. No, it was so funny because, okay, so you have the spots like we talked about where it was Jeff Hardy doing, his traditional Jeff Hardy stuff off the top of the chamber onto AJ, which was great.
Yeah.
And then you have the spots with AJ doing his forearm splash to, who was it that he hit their back? Was it Kofi? I can't remember.
He hit. I know he hit Samoa Joe with a phenomenal forearm.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I was surprised that they had Samoa Joe go first out of everybody. I was like, okay. Just keep screwing him more, but, whatever. It's fine.
Yeah, I didn't like how Samoa was the first one. Samoa Joe was the first one eliminated.
I can't believe he was the first one. But, like, AJ Styles was, second or third? No, he was third. Because then Randy got out next, and then it was just Kofi and Daniel Bryan, the last two. Yeah, that's pretty much it. But yeah, no, Samoa Joe going first, I was like, okay, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And then you had some really good spots, like the RKO to AJ Styles. That was pretty great. How he held it, and he was like, that's right. Boom!
Yeah, I thought that was great.
That was so great.
And like me and you were saying, Randy versus AJ at WrestleMania would be pretty dope.
Oh, I would love that match so much.
Mikey just gave us a little spoiler. Yeah, so I'm not going to tell you. I know you are watching Raw, but I'm not, because I have to wait till tomorrow. But Mikey, that is awesome. I'm so excited about that. I
missed some of it, but yeah, no, it is awesome for sure. Like the whole AJ Randy thing. So I'm excited to see how they're going to build that up tomorrow. But yeah, so going back to that, like the way they did the eliminations, I think was a little bit quicker than I imagined, honestly. But the fact that they gave us a match within a match, like, that made me forget all about that completely.
For sure.
So you have, like, so many, like, near falls and, like, going back and forth with Kofi and Bryan, like, just back and forth. Like, that, I think, was so much better than anybody had anticipated. And then it was like, we don't care who wins. We just want to have a great match at this point. That's pretty much how I felt. And so they definitely delivered.
Yeah, like going in, I was like, I know that Daniel Bryan's most likely going to retain, but if anybody won, I think I would be happy. Like, I liked all those people, and I thought they all deserve gold. I mean, maybe not Randy, because Randy's had it a bunch of times, but I was like, Jeff Hardy, I think he deserves another world title run sometime. AJ, like, he's a solid champ, can't really go wrong. He was probably on the lower end for me. Samoa Joe definitely needs, I think, to feel like a certified heel, like someone that can walk the walk. I think he needs a world title sooner rather than later.
For sure.
And then I was thinking about like what if was this supposed to be Mustafa Ali's spot this whole time? Because I don't think personally, like, it would have felt the same way for me, because I'm a huge Kofi Kingston fan. Mustafa Ali's definitely super talented, but I'm a sucker for high flyers. You can blame it on Rey Mysterio, I love him. I think I'm a big Kofi Kingston fan, a big New Day fan, and like, this was wrestling at its finest. Like, this story, like the way they like started running towards each other, like when they were the final two and started wailing on each other, like it was awesome. To quote The Miz, it was awesome.
It was so great, and it's funny that you bring that up, how whether or not that was Mustafa Ali's spot, because it makes so much sense, and then like the fact that he was injured, like we all knew pretty much it was that AJ was going to be thrown in the mix. Yeah. We all knew they were going to have to throw in Jeff Hardy, at some point. And, like, Randy Orton, like, not that it wasn't, like, known, but it wasn't, like, much of a surprise. It was like, oh, yeah, well, of course he would be in. Like, that's the thing. It would be like, of course he would be in it because it's Randy Orton. Mm-hmm. And, like, you get that reaction from most of those guys. And it was, like, with Kofi, like, how the build-up was so quick, but yet, like, it was so well received compared to, like, other quickly, like, brought up, storylines and whatnot. And so I think, like you said, like, it worked better for Kofi because, he's been there for so long, and he's actually, like, loved by the fans, like, so much, and how he's consistently delivered. It doesn't matter, like, what match he's in. I think it was it, like, Hell in a Cell, like, sometime last year that the New Day was in their match that, like, people were going crazy over it? It was last
The
year.
one versus them versus the Usos. That was pretty dope in the Hell in a Cell.
Yeah. Like
That I think it was about a year ago. It was 2017, I think.
Okay, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
2 years ago.
Because it was Shane jumps off a fucking table again, or jumps off the steel, the Hell in a Cell again. Stop doing that. You're not good at it. You never hit it.
Hi. That was the one with the Undertaker. That one got me real bad. And he was all bruised up, and I was like, oh god.
I was like, stop it. You're gonna
but
kill
anyway.
yourself.
No, yeah, but like I think not that Mustafa Ali didn't deserve to be in the match, but I think it just worked better this way. It was so much more organic. Like going back to the whole organic thing, if you just let it happen, people are gonna enjoy it so much more. And like being able to showcase Kofi on the Gauntlet match before the match, I think is what really won everyone over.
Yeah.
I mean, not that everyone didn't like him, but I'm pretty sure there were some people that were skeptical, like, oh man, like, are you sure this is gonna work? Like one of those, like, are you 100%? And then you do Gauntlet match, it's like, yeah, put him in.
Personally, I think that any member of the New Day could like be a great like singles competitor, and I hope they don't. I thought it was a beautiful moment at the end with all of them sharing it, like after Kofi ended up losing.
Oh yeah.
I thought it was beautiful, and I think that they're one of the. If they're a faction that broke up, I'd be very upset. Like, not just because, like, oh, like, I like them, but because, like, I think that there needs to be a faction that doesn't have that inevitable breakup, you know, the solid through and through. That way, that when other teams break up, it means more. So, I think they should just be solid through and through because they've been heels. They've been, you know, now they've been faces for so long. I think they know how to change, and they're just so over. Like it's insane. And I think Kofi being a journeyman definitely like they were saying the announcers were doing really good too. It's like 10 years, 50, whatever it is in the company, like that year build up 11 years. Yeah, they're just like, and this is it. Like this is what he's been fighting for. I remember watching when Edge took out Kofi before the Elimination Chamber match even started, and Edge inserted himself after he lost it in an earlier Elimination Chamber match and won it that time. And I was just like so mad because I loved Kofi, man. Like, and looking back, everyone's like, oh, this is a great Edge moment. But I was like, no, I love Kofi. I want more Kofi. And I'm so glad he's getting his due. There's I don't know how much more I could say. I thought Andy's asking if it's the greatest Elimination Chamber match of all time. I don't know. I have to rewatch some other ones because I really do like Elimination Chamber matches, but I don't remember like getting this hyped. I want to say in a while. Like I remember, I was like Royal Rumble was good and stuff like that, but just that like long-term storytelling, like we've been talking about, it definitely paid off there for Kofi. And depending on where they go from here, I think it's still yet to be seen. So I think that will have to weigh on how good I think this match is. Because if they just don't ever have Kofi again in a title match, I'm gonna be very upset.
Same.
Andy said when Kofi Kingston kicked out of the running knee, I almost pissed myself. Wish Joe to last longer. And he said Daniel Bryan versus Kofi versus Mustafa Ali at Mania. I love how wide open the WWE Championship is right now. Like last year, by this time, it's like, okay, Shinsuke is going to fight AJ for sure. Roman's going to fight Brock for sure. This one, like one of the title matches is still very much open. And so is the Women's SmackDown title.
That's how you want it to be, kind of.
Exactly.
Like, there's so much more room, you know, to grow some type of, you know, like memorable storyline. Like again, going back to the whole Daniel Bryan thing, how that just happened organically. It happened over time, and then you got the Raw takeover, and then you got the Triple H match, and then that night he fought not once but twice, and he won the title. You know, like, there's a need for matches like that to happen like organically and with fan involvement and approval. Not that you have to try and please the fans all the time, but you know, a lot of the stuff has you know, worked that way. So.
I think if Kofi would have won, they would have blown the dang roof off of Toyota Center. Like,
oh yeah, that's
it would have been one of the biggest pops you've ever seen.
If you've ever been like there, like that place is freaking huge, and you can just hear everybody screaming. Because actually, the Raw that I went to back in 2016, that was where it was at, and that place is huge. And so like to see it filled, like the people like going like Kofi, 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 I'm like, wow, wow, it's so crazy.
Yeah, for sure. I think that it's very rare recently. I feel not very rare, but like it's kind of hard. WWE's been having a hard time getting people to boo the heel, cheer the face, and I think everybody like I love Daniel Bryan, and when he turned heel, I was like, whatever. I'm still gonna root for Daniel Bryan. They made me root for Kofi Kingston. Like,
oh yeah, and it was so insane. Crazy because like how Daniel Bryan had like the no chant first, and then he did the yes chant. Over the last couple of years, and how that was his thing. I was like, but I really like the yes chant. Like, I can't do the no chant for him as a heel. Like, as much as I like him, like, no. And then you hear everyone doing it yesterday, and it's like, I get it.
Yeah.
It's like, no, this is necessary. This is great. Literally, finally booing the heel, aka Daniel Bryan, and cheering the face, Kofi. And to be honest, like, not that doesn't happen, but it's like, it was so easy to do the yes chant with Daniel Bryan because everyone liked him. Mm-hmm. And it didn't matter, like, what he was doing, even if he was in between, you weren't sure if he was going to be the heel or not. But, like, last night, how, like, that solidified it, like, that was so great. I don't think there's been a match in a long time where you've had someone that's so well-liked actually being booed like that.
Yeah.
Like, the people who come to mind like that is, like, Razor Ramon when he was a heel. Everyone loved him, but, they booed on cue. And then, like, John Cena, like, he had so much ambiguity with, like, the Let's Go Cena, Cena sucks chant. So that's why I feel like maybe people got confused by that, where it's like, oh, whether he's a heel or not, you can still like him and or hate him. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But last night, it was so, like, it was textbook wrestling, like you said earlier. It was, you had the heel, you had the face, the cheers were appropriate, the wrestling was great. It was just top tier.
For sure. I'm very excited to watch this week in Raw. I'm very excited to see what happens at Fastlane. Who's gonna fight who at WrestleMania. It's not filler if you need it to tell the story. Like we were saying, this time last year we already knew what the two top matches were gonna be, more or less. Mm-hmm. And now I think it's still very much wide open for the WWE title. I thought maybe that Harper might show up. He didn't. Maybe we'll see him later.
Oh, yeah.
I definitely, I'm digging the like, was it the hippie Daniel Bryan, the new Daniel Bryan. I love the warrior Daniel Bryan.
The Planet's champ.
Yes, the Planet's champion. Just like me, just like Daniel Bryan says, 100% hemp. Don't quote me on it. Don't look at my title. Okay. Any final thoughts for Elimination Chamber?
Final thoughts. I think they showcased the women well when they did. I think the men were showcased well, like, I'm talking chamber-wise matches. There was definitely some awkward spots, but they started off strong and they finished strong. It was just the in-between that needed work, to be honest. But if I had to take away anything from the in-between, it was that Finn won, which is all that mattered for the in-between. So.
Yeah, I think we got a lot of fan service, and not just fan service because he deserves it and everything, but we did get what we wanted. And I think that we give pay-per-views a lot of flack when the ending is bad. That's what people always remember. So when an ending is good, I think we should give them credit. And that last scene with Kofi and the rest of the New Day, I thought was really good, very powerful, and it was a great match. Above average pay-per-view for sure.
For sure.
You good? We getting out of here.
Good.
All right, so let us know punishment down in the comments that all three of us have to do. I'm still your champion, but who knows for how much or longer. Thank you guys so much for tuning in all the way to the end. Or subscribe to the channel, leave a like down below, comment some wrestling stuff. We're always good to respond to your comments. Follow us on Twitter at NewWorldNerds. If you follow Jackie on Twitter, she has a Twitter. Go ahead and hit him with it.
Yes, it is at JustJackie21_.
Yeah. Subscribe to Andy's channel, The Nerd Crew. The link is in the description. That's all I got for you today, folks. That's all we got for you today. Keep nerding out there, true believers. And we're done.